Good morning, everybody. How you doing today? It's good to see you. Check in on the chat board. How we doing? Everybody ready for the exam? I just sent a poll through the chart. There you go. Fantastic. Good to see everybody this morning. Hi, Dee. Hi, Chrissy. Hi, Christine. Wow, we got some people I haven't seen here before, so it's really good to see you. Uh-oh. Not everybody's ready for the weekend. Some of you are ready for the weekend. Did you see the poll I just sent in the chat board? It's a new thing. I might start using that, so I just wanted to see if it worked this morning. Okay, looks like more people are ready for the weekend than not. 60 and 40. Okay, good deal. Hi, Yanan. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Great class. Great class. Good to see everybody this morning. Holy cow, here we are at 9 o'clock on Friday morning. The exam is available, and it's now time for you to get started on that exam. Are y'all ready to talk about what's going to be on the exam? Let's do this. Not ready for the exam. Exams scare me, right? My exam. Oh, Chrissy, you're not a. Just wanted to add my maiden name. Shows up here a lot. My name is Christina Bettini. Oh, Chrissy Newcomer. Okay, you fooled me, Christina. I'm sorry. I thought you were a new person here. Okay, well, it's good to see you anyhow. You kind of threw me, Chrissy. All right, let's see. Everything looked good. All right, 7 votes. Looks like we got 7 votes, and most of us are ready for the weekend. And Christine Marie, Christine Amatron. Actually, I had figured you out, Christine. I knew you. Will all the tests not have examity? Correct. The exams will not have examity this semester, John. It's a new tool, and they're still working out the procedures and the details. So I'm going to hold off on examity for one more semester. I'll be starting it in the spring. Okay. Oh, no problem, Chrissy. No problem at all. So let's talk a little bit about the exam. Turns out it's only going to be 50 questions instead of 60 questions. I ran out of steam, so it's only going to be 50 questions. How about that? It is going to cover chapters, let's see. So test is 51 questions. Chapters 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, does everybody see that? Okay, fantastic. We got 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, now let's go ahead and start with chapter 5. Let's go ahead and start with chapter 5. Okay, let's see. Okay, so okay, I want you to know. Let's see. Let me take a quick look at full text. Okay, I didn't get the. All right, so there are going to be, it looks like 13 questions on chapter 5. I've got 13 questions on chapter 5. Let's see. There is one question on, let's see, association cortices, I should say. Types of somatosensory receptors. So if you remember, we have touch receptors all over our body. Remember, we have touch receptors all over our body, and I suggested to you that we have more receptors related to touch than any other type of receptor. I suggested there are pain receptors, warm receptors, uh, uh, movement receptors, vibration receptors. I want you to be able to identify the different types of somatosensory receptors. Does that make sense? Okay, so I've got a question on that. So one question on this, one question on this. Let's see. I want you to know, why are people super tasters? There's a question on super tasters. Let's see. Uh, Two questions, three questions on sound, three questions on sound. So we have one question here, three questions on sounds. One, two, two questions on rods and cones. One question on Gestalt vision cues. Let's see. There's a matching question. Lobes and sensory cortices. So, can anybody tell me which lobe is the gustatory cortex located in? Can anybody tell me which cortex the gustatory cortex is located in? Can anybody tell me which cortex the primary visual cortex is in? Very good. Can anybody tell me where the auditory cortex is? So this is a matching question. Okay. And then let's see, one, two. And then there's two questions on sensation versus perception. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 3, 5, 10, 13 questions. 13 questions. Okay. Any questions on chapter 1? That's what we're going to, let's see, whiteboard. Let me go to thing. So there we go. There's one on association cortices. There's one question on the types of somatosensory receptors. There's one question on what supertasters are. There's three questions about sound, two questions about rods and cones, one question about Gestalt vision cues, one question about lobes and sensory cortices. That's going to be a matching question. And two questions on sensation versus perception. So does anybody have any questions on chapter 1? On chapter 5. This is chapter 5. Any questions? Okay. Any questions on chapter 5? Okay. Switch over here to chapter 6. Okay, let me go to my test real quick. That's chapter 5. Let's see how we hide those questions. And we'll go to chapter 6. Okay, chapter 6 is the chapter on behaviorism, right? Do you remember behaviorism? Okay, and there are 12 questions. 12 questions in that chapter. I didn't get any feedback on chapter 5. Does that mean everything is so obvious that nobody has a question to answer? If you could, somebody please type in the chat bar real quick and let me know that chapter 5 is good for you. Sometimes I need a little bit of feedback. I'm staring at 3 computer screens and I'm not sure if everybody gets it. So just help me out a little bit. Okay. When I stop getting feedback, I wonder if my live stream broadcast is frozen. Well, we're good. I'm highlighting my notes to study more. Okay, good enough. Thank you. Sorry. Sometimes when you're staring at computer screens and you don't get any feedback, it's hard to tell if you're making any sense or not. Okay, good enough. So let's carry on with chapter 6. Okay, so let's see. There's a question on a fear hierarchy. You need to know what a fear hierarchy is. And by the way, if there's anything you hear on this broadcast, and you don't know what it is, you can ask a question in the chat bar, and I'll go back over and reteach it or describe it. So I don't mind doing that while we're doing this review session, okay? So let's see. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 classical conditioning questions. Okay. Let's see. Okay. There's a question on systematic desensitization. You need to know what, in order to engage in the treatment of systematic desensitization, what 2 things do you need to have in order to engage in systematic desensitization? Okay. There's a question on spontaneous recovery. There's a question about shaping. You need to know what shaping is. Let's see. There's a general question on behaviorist beliefs. What did behaviorists believe? What did they not find interesting to study? What did they not find interesting to study? What did they not think existed or was worth measuring? Can you tell me why? Okay, let's see. Okay, and then there are one question on positive versus negative reinforcers. And then there's one question which is matching types of reinforcers and punishers, right? So remember, we have positive punishers, negative punishers, positive reinforcers, negative reinforcers. I have a matching question where you have to figure that out. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 11. What question am I missing? What question am I missing? Mental complex, that's shaping, reinforcers and punishers, matching, classical, systematic desensitization. What question am I missing? Let's scroll. 1, 2, 3, 4. I got that. Systematic desensitization. Shaping. I'm sorry. 2 questions on shaping. 2 questions on shaping for a total of 12 questions. Okay. All right. So, does anybody have any questions on behaviorism? Anybody have any questions on behaviorism? One question on fear hierarchies, 4 on classical conditioning, uh, 1 on systematic desensitization, a spontaneous recovery, 2 on shaping, 1 on the general beliefs of behaviorists, 1 where you differentiate between positive and negative reinforcers, and 1 matching question where you're going to have to match all the different reinforcer and punisher examples. Any questions on chapter 6? Or would we say that we've got chapter 6? Hopefully everybody's got that one, right? Okay, so we are now 25 out of 50 questions into the exam. We've done chapter 5, which is sensation and perception, and we've also got chapter 6, which is behaviorism. Now we're ready for chapter 7, which is cognitive psychology. So let's see, chapter 7, cognitive. And let's see, we've got 13 questions in that set. 13 questions. Okay, let's see. All right. Excuse me. Sorry, went to the wrong one. Chapter 7, 13 questions. Okay. Any questions on chapter 6 before we move on? Is there anything anybody needs explained? What a fear hierarchy is, how you do shaping? Does everybody know the difference between positive and negative reinforcers? Does everybody know the difference between a punisher and a reinforcer? Can everybody identify the 4 parts of the classical conditioning paradigm? You know, I used for this exam, I will tell you for the classical conditioning, I used the classic, the classic Pavlov dog. So I didn't do a tricky question. It's Pavlov's dog. Tell me what the salivating to the bell is. Tell me what salivating to the food powder is. Tell me what the bell is. Tell me what the food powder is. Okay. First question. You want to know about the question? Let's see. Up here, when we engage in systematic sensitization, classical conditioning. So whenever the person sees the feared object, it causes an emotional response in their heart. And so what we want to do is retrain them to have a new emotional response with the feared target. But if you have a fear of spiders and I put you in the room with a big tarantula, you're going to freak out and not be able to control your emotions. So what we do is we create a fear hierarchy, which is a list of presentations of the feared object, going from something you could handle all the way up to the scariest thing you could imagine. So what we might do is start with the word spider written on a piece of paper. You know what? If you have a phobia of spiders, just looking at the word is going to cause some sort of emotional response in you. However, I could probably get you to control yourself while doing that. And so what we do is we teach you a relaxation technique. Remember, I teach you how to relax yourself. And once you're relaxed, I show you the word spider. Relax by looking at the word spider. Now, if you start to freak out, I'll take the word spider away so you can get back into your relaxed status. And what we'll do is after a while, look at the word spider without getting overly emotional. We then work up to the next step of your fear hierarchy, which might be a picture of a spider or a cartoon picture of a spider. And then we might work you up to a dead spider or a spider in a jar. And then we're working up your fear hierarchy. That makes sense. Okay? All right. Well, maybe we should go back. I got a Jordan Smith. Did that make sense? So let's see. Hold on. Let me go back to my whiteboard. So we need for systematic desensitization, I need a fear hierarchy, and a relaxation technique. Okay, and so my fear hierarchy, let's see, so I might use something like the word spider, and then a picture of a spider. And then I might have a stuffed animal spider. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I might have a stuffed animal spider. Then I might have a dead spider in a jar. And then 5, I might have a dead spider not in a jar. And then I might have a live spider in a jar. Okay, so that's my fear hierarchy. Notice how it goes up in differing levels of scariness. Now, the thing is, the patient gets to decide what that fear hierarchy is. You can't decide what the scary presentations of a spider are. Instead, the patient decides that. So they create their own fear hierarchy. And at the same time, you're teaching them how to relax. You're teaching them how to relax. And the idea is we want to practice this relaxation technique while moving up the fear hierarchy. So first I learn to control my emotions when I look at the word spider. Then I learn to control my emotions when I see a picture of a spider. Then I learn to control my emotions while I see a stuffed animal spider. And each time I'm pairing the spider with the positive emotion. And the idea is I'm trying to reduce my anxiety, my emotional response when I run into the presentations of the spider. Okay, hope that makes sense. Okay, so we're in cognitive psychology now. Let's see what we got. Okay. Okay, so there's a question on Fusiform Gyrus. What memories do we store in the Fusiform Gyrus? Can anybody tell me what question we store in the Fusiform Gyrus? Anybody real quick? Somebody type in the chat bar and impress me this morning. What kind of memories do we store in the Fusiform Gyrus, which is located in the temporal lobe? Come on, somebody. Who's going to do it? Who's going to do it? I'm waiting. Facial memories. There we go. April Kruger, gold star for you, my dear. Absolutely. That's where we store our memory for faces. We have this amazing memory for faces, right? Okay, so let's see. Then there's a question on elaborative versus maintenance rehearsal. Which one's better? Right? Which one's better? Let's see. There's a question on there's a question on how easily memories are changed. Okay. Then there's a question on, you know what, actually, I take that back. There are 2 questions on elaborative versus rehearsal. How about that? 2 questions. Let's see. No, I take that back. There are 3 questions on elaborative versus maintenance rehearsal. Okay, let's see. You know what? There are 2 questions on how easily memories are changed. Okay, and then let's see, there's a question on identifying episodic memories. And then there's a question on identifying explicit memories. There's a question on the hippocampus, what its role is in memory. Then there's a matching brain area with type of memory. So, if you remember procedural memories, muscle memory, which part of your brain is responsible for storing muscle memories? Can anybody tell me which one of your brain areas is responsible for muscle memory? Who can tell me what that is? Come on, somebody! Don't let April have all the glory this morning. Who can tell me which part of your brain is responsible for storing muscle memories or procedural memories? And April, you're still welcome to answer. I just want to see if anybody can outdo you this morning. All right? Who knows? Who knows? Da 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 da. Anybody going to answer? Nobody knows where muscle memories. Oh, the cerebellum, Yanan. Boom. Too late, John. Yanan. There you go. Everybody answered the cerebellum. Okay, good job, folks. I'm going to want you to know where classical conditioning memories are stored, where muscle memories are stored, where episodic memories are stored, where where your working memory or your short-term memory is processed. Okay, so we're going to have to know that. Let's see. I asked this. Which invention is important for cognitive? And you know what? Let's see. Am I running off the board yet? Okay, good enough. There we go. All right. I don't quite have enough room on my desk. I need a bigger desk, really. Let's see. 1, 2, and then there are 2 questions on the Atkinson-Shiffrin model. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 questions. Okay, how does that look? Okay, do we have any questions on Chapter 7? Any questions on Chapter 7? If you do have any questions on Chapter 7, go ahead and type it in the chat bar, and I will circle back around to them. Let's go ahead and switch to Chapter 8. Okay? So, Chapter 8, Intelligence. And there are 13 questions. Okay, 13 questions. There we go. Let me go back to Chapter Exam. Close down Chapter 7 and get to Chapter 8. So we got 13 questions on Chapter 8. Okay, so one question on calculating IQ using mental age over chronological age. I got one question on that. I got a question on the difference between aptitude and achievement tests. Right? Let's see. I've got a question Let's see. Okay, so actually, you know what? Two questions on the difference between aptitude and achievement tests. Okay, let's see. That's that. That. Oh, I take that back. Three questions on the difference between aptitude and achievement tests. Okay, one question on limitations of IQ tests. Okay. Okay. Let me go ahead. I've got my question display. Okay, let's see. Okay, there's one question on the triarchic theory. Of intelligence. Remember, we suggested that there were three different types of intelligence, and this guy Robert Sternberg said IQ tests only measure one type. And I think it was, if Ronique, if you're still in here, you and I talked about street smarts and practical knowledge, right? And then let's see, there's another question on Gardner's multiple intelligences. Okay. And then there's a question on fluid versus crystallized intelligence. Okay, let's see. Okay, there's two questions on validity and reliability. Remember, I suggested to you those are two properties that we're interested in tests, IQ tests. Okay, and then let's see. There's one question on G versus S intelligence. Remember, I told you that you get one overall number on your IQ score, but you also get lots of smaller numbers. Tell me the difference between this G theory of intelligence and the multiple S theory of intelligence. Then there's one question which is matching, which is identify examples of different IQ tests. And then there is one on evaluate an IQ score. Okay, evaluate an IQ score. So if I told you that Fred's IQ was 105, what would you tell me? Is he above average? Is he average? Or is he gifted if his IQ is 105? Can somebody tell me? Is he gifted? Is he above average? Or is he average? He is average, right. And you know, I had a student call me and talk to me the other day about IQs, and this student thought that 105 was above average because I said in class that 100 represents average. Keep in mind, average is a range. From 85 to 115 is considered average. From 115 to 130 is considered above average, and from 85 to 70 is considered below average. And then above 130 and below 70 are considered extreme ranges for IQ scores. And we call the people who score 130 and over, we might use the word gifted or genius for them, whatever words you might want to use. And if we have people with an IQ below 70 and they also show impairment in daily function, we might give them a designation of intellectually disabled. Now keep in mind, just because you get an IQ score under 70 does not mean that you are intellectually disabled. Some people's attention, they may have ADD so bad, they may have dyslexia so bad, they may have some sort of math disorder so bad, they may have personality problems. Any of these factors may impair their ability to score well on an IQ test. So a clinical psychologist doesn't just take that one number. They look at the totality of the person before they would ever think about giving them the label of intellectually disabled, okay? Now, if you look at this, we've got 1, that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So that's 13 questions. All right. So, there we go. All right. That's all I have to say. That's sort of the review for exam number 2. Does anybody have any questions? Did I go over that in enough detail for you? Short of giving you the answers. I know you'd like to just get the answers or see the test questions. I get that. But you know I can't do that. But does anybody have any questions about the exam? Any general questions about the exam or any specific questions about the exam? What are the different IQ tests? Okay, the Asvab is an IQ test that's used by the military. So, let me write it down, shall I? Okay. And I'm not looking at the exam as I'm writing this down, so I'm just writing these down from what I'm thinking about. So Asvab is a military IQ test. The Wonderlic is used in business. Okay, the Woodcock Johnson is the most popular pencil and paper test. Okay, now here's the deal. In a clinical setting, IQ tests are not given in the pencil and paper method. All right, so just like, when you go take an SAT test, you circle the little bubbles and you take it in a room full of other students. In a clinical setting, IQ tests are not given that way. And in a clinical setting, the tester, which let's say would be me, the psychologist, I would be sitting right in front of you, asking you the questions one at a time. And we would go through the test questions one at a time. And we do this because so that I can evaluate your performance. Remember, I suggested to you that scoring below 70 doesn't necessarily give you an IQ designation of intellectually disabled. Instead, I have to make sure that your intellectual disability is related to your inability, your lack of knowledge, rather than your difficulty with the test of some sort, right? And so in a one-on-one setting, I can actually watch you and help the diagnosis process, okay? But the Woodcock-Johnson is the one we give to everybody in 3rd grade. So it's the most popular pencil and paper test, okay? The WACE and the WISC, which are the ones developed by the Wechsler scales, those are the most popular in clinical settings. So if you go to see, if any of you have ever had your IQ tested in a clinical settings, you probably took the WISC. And then the Stanford Binet is the oldest IQ test. I'm not sure which ones I put on the exam, but these are 5 different types of IQ tests. Oh, and then you know what? The SAT test, at least the old style, they changed this SAT test several years ago to make it less like an IQ test, less like an aptitude test, and more like an achievement test. And that's sort of a college IQ test. Okay. Okay. Amala wants to know the difference between an aptitude test and an achievement test. An IQ test is an aptitude test designed to measure your general level of intelligence, your ability to learn, so to speak, how clever you are, so to speak. So IQ attempts to measure not necessarily whether you know something, but your general ability to learn, your aptitude, Amala, how clever you are. Okay, so that's what an aptitude test is. On the other hand, an achievement test is simply designed to evaluate whether or not you learned a body of information. So your driver's license test is an achievement test. Do you know the rules of driving? The exam that you're going to take in my class this weekend is an achievement test. It's not going to tell me if you're a genius or not. It's going to tell me, did you learn and study the material that I wanted you to study from this part of the book? Okay, so IQ tests are different than regular tests because IQ tests attempt to measure your aptitude, not whether or not you've learned a certain amount of material. Yeah, thank you very much for the assist. John Ramos is telling you that our midterm exam is an achievement test. Please, for the love of God, don't take this as a measure of how smart or not smart you are. My test, your A&P test, your math test, none of these are aptitude tests. Now, your aptitude may impact how well you do on achievement tests. Maybe for some of you, you're able to learn the course material quicker than other people, but any exam you take here at Wake Tech is fundamentally an achievement test because your teacher is asking you, did you learn what I wanted you to learn for this particular test? Does that make sense, Amala? Did that clear it up? Thank you very much, John. I really appreciate you helping out with that question. Very good. And by the way, if anybody else hears or sees a typed question and wants to help me out by answering the question, I am always happy to have student helpers. Okay, great. So do we have any other questions? Did you folks find this exam review helpful? Do you think it's going to help you do better on this exam? And I'll wait for your answer. The exam is available. It's due Sunday night by 11:59. Don't forget your weekly homework is due tonight by 11:59 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and log off now. If anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to send me a text on Remind, and I would be more than happy to answer them. I am getting ready to update your attendance grades for this week. You should have your attendance grades updated by lunchtime today. Okay? How many short answer questions? You know, I looked at it. I only saw one, maybe two short answer questions. Actually, I think it was only one. Hold on, let me look back. Yep. In fact, Let's see if everybody watched this broadcast all the way to the end. One of the short answer questions is going to be for you to describe the difference between an aptitude test and an achievement test. Shh, don't tell anybody else. We're going to see if they watched the entire 46-minute broadcast. If they didn't, they'll miss out on this freebie question. So what is the difference between an aptitude and an achievement test? How about that, John? I just spilled the beans for you and the people who are still in this room. Don't tell anybody our little secret, okay? All right? Good enough. So, I'm going to go ahead and log off. Oh, absolutely, right. And the second one might be that, although I'm not sure. The only one I truly remember is the one I just helped you out with, okay? All right, folks, y'all take care. Have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you next week in lecture class. Take care.